Hey, Stacy.
What's up?
We got some new music.
Yeah, I see.
Music from B Maxie. She is a YouTuber, and she let me use her music on the podcast as long as we, shout her out and stuff. So I'm gonna put her. I'm
Okay.
gonna link her in the show notes. So if anybody like the music, you can hit V up.
That's what's up.
Yes, yes. All right, so we are back. This is season 2 of Conversation with Miss Reed. It's our first episode, and I felt it would be perfect because it is 9/11. This is the 21st anniversary of 9/11, and still, to me, it still like affects me in every kind of way, emotionally, and just seeing those planes going into the towers. It is just so heartbreaking. So, for those that do not know, that lived under a rock, or maybe just some youngster that really didn't hear about it, I don't know how, but 9/11 is when we were attacked. So, I'm going to go into Britannica. They had a really nice article, and I'm going to link their webpage too in the reference and stuff. Now, Stacey, did you remember seeing Britannica books? Like, my father used to have so many, and I love those books better than an encyclopedia. I love the Britannica books.
Yeah, I remember the books. I didn't have them. I mean, we had the Britannica set, of course. You know, the Encyclopedia man used to come around the house and stuff all the time. You know, so I know I'm dating myself like crazy, but yeah, I do remember those books. I definitely do.
Yeah, it was a lot in there. And I just loved them. They was so big. It was just full of information. So, yes, I remember writing a paper. I can't remember what I was writing about, but I was able to get everything I needed out of that book. So, when I was in high school. So,
Yeah, I
okay.
don't know if those like predated like I don't know. Do you remember the World Almanac?
Yeah, I remember that too.
Because I used to buy those every year. Every year I bought them, and it was a big old thick book with just tons of useless information that I used all the time.
So much, even maps, all kinds of stuff was in there. I'm like, kids nowadays, I mean, of course they can just go ahead and get on Google and find whatever they need, but just to have those things, to sit down. This is when I literally had to sit down. I tell them now, like, when you go to the library, it's different now compared to when we used to have to go to the library. You have to know, like, you had to read the card. Yeah, you got to know where the book was at. You literally had to go find that shit yourself. So that was a fun time. That was the good old days. Oh, yeah. So when I think about 9/11, for me, this is gonna be forever etched in my head and memory, because this happened, of course, during my lifetime. It's almost like when my mom said that she would remember as a little girl seeing when Martin Luther King them walked the bridge in Selma. And I was like, yeah, this is something that she would never, she would never forget that. And like she said, she saw them, she had the opportunity, but she was a little girl at the time. And that's why I'm like, this is something I'm going to always remember. So, and I know you had like some experience, because at the time you was in New York. I was living in Virginia, but of course, the news, everything was coming across. And then I think that was when the first tower got hit. And then we realized, I started trying to call family up there, and I couldn't get anybody. The lines were all down. Like, I couldn't get anybody for a few days, and it was so scary. So I know you actually, this me being in Virginia, you actually being in New York, it's like feeling that, knowing that, just having that whole experience. So I'm really excited to have you like share with us what happened on that day, and like just put us in the same mindset you was from the time you woke up until you realized that we were under attack. So,
yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday.
I don't think you could ever forget that.
No, and I guess what's crazy about it is I just, even just listening to you, just say that it was 21 years ago.
Yes.
It doesn't feel like 21 years ago.
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
It just, it was crazy. But yeah, I know that day, I got up in the morning like I always did, went to work. And at that particular time, I know I had just got like a new computer.
Oh, but wait! I want you to tell your story for sure. So I'm gonna just explain to the people that don't know what 9/11 is and why this is so emotional and so dear to our hearts. We need to let people know like why. So George W. Bush was the president at the time, and this information came from Britannica. September 11 attacks, they're also called 9/11 attacks, series of airline hijackings and suicide attacks committed in 2001 by 19 militants associated with the Islamic extremist group al-Qaeda against targets in the United States. The deadliest terrorist attacks on American soil in U.S. history. The attacks against New York City and Washington, D.C. caused extensive death and destruction and triggered an enormous U.S. effort to combat terrorism. Some 2,750 people were killed in New York, 184 at the Pentagon, and 40 in Pennsylvania, where one of the hijacked planes crashed after the passengers attempted to retake the plane. And they have so many movies on that, and I was so proud. Every time I watch it, though, it makes me emotional. But I was so proud to know that these people refused to just die. They was like, we know we're probably gonna die, but we're gonna fight. And all 19 terrorists died. Police and fire departments in New York were especially hard hit. Hundreds had rushed to the scene of the attacks, and more than 400 police officers and firefighters were killed. The September 11 plot demonstrated that al-Qaeda was an organization of global reach. The plot played out across the globe with planning meetings in Malaysia, operatives taking flight lessons in the United States. With that tripped me out. Coordination by plot leaders based in Hamburg, Germany, money transfers from Dubai, and recruitment of suicide operatives from countries around the Middle East. All activities that were ultimately overseen by al-Qaeda's leaders in Afghanistan. The September 11 Commission and its findings. The National Commission on Terrorist Attacks upon the United States, also known as the 9/11 Commission, was set up on November 27, 2002, to prepare a full and complete account of the circumstances surrounding the September 11 attacks, including preparedness for an immediate response to the attacks. The commission was also mandated to provide recommendations designed to guard against future attacks. Chaired by former New Jersey Governor Thomas King, the commission consisted of 5 Democrats and 5 Republicans. The commission was created by the congressional legislation with the bill signed into law by President George W. Bush. The commission's final report was lengthy and based on extensive interviews and testimony. Its primary conclusion was that the failures of the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, also known as the CIA, and Federal Bureau of Investigation, also known as the FBI, permitted the terrorist attacks to occur, and that if these agencies had acted more wisely and more aggressively, the attacks could potentially have been prevented. After the publication of its final report, the commission closed on August 21st, 2004. The commission's website was shut down, but has been archived. So that is so crazy. So now we're going to go into the attacks. And as we go in, I just want you to like also put us in the space of, like we said, how you was, starting your day before, like a regular old day before all this happened.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I can remember that day just like it was yesterday. I'm telling you, it was a beautiful beautiful day out. Wasn't a
Wow.
cloud in the sky, not a
Wow.
one. And I said I had gone to work, and got my assignment for the day. We were working down in the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and what happened? Yeah, I had I said I got my assignment, and I decided I was going to go ahead and stop at home because I had just got me a brand new Gateway computer.
We gotta bust it out.
Yeah. So I went home and I was like, I want to go home and mess around with it for a little bit. So I was in my room sitting there playing around on the computer and I had the radio on too. And I used to listen to there was these DJs that we had, Star and Buck Wild, and they was
Oh
on the
yeah.
station Hot 97, and I was listening to them, clowning on the radio, and during the time they were doing that segment, they had said something about a plane that had hit one of the World Trade Center towers. So I was like, what? I was like, all right, well, I'm just thinking, maybe it was like a little commuter jet, something, not even a commuter jet, probably a little commuter plane, little two-seater or
Hmm.
something, somebody messing around, wasn't paying attention,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it bounced off the building and,
So we saw
something
it.
like
It was
that.
so
So,
it was so low because I know as I was seeing, I just kept saying like, damn, that plane is flying really low.
right. Yeah. And, so at that point, I was like, okay, well, let me go ahead and, shut all this down and go head on down to the job site because I know from the Brooklyn Navy Yard, it was like literally across the river. You could
Hmm.
see downtown Manhattan in the World Trade Center. It's like I could almost like throw a rock at it, you
Okay,
know.
okay.
But so I went ahead and jumped in my truck, and when I came out the truck and where I was living in Brooklyn at the time, it's like you could see like all the way down the street, so I could see the smoke at that point.
Okay.
So, but it still hadn't dawned on me that it was an actual jet
Yeah,
that
so did
hit
you
it.
guys feel like some rumblings? You know how sometimes even here in
I didn't
Atlanta.
feel, I didn't feel, I didn't hear anything.
Okay.
I didn't feel or hear anything. So I jumped in the truck and I drove down. And of course, when I got there, it's like the other guys that I was working with, they were all there and outside of their trucks, and everybody's like looking, and you see the smoke, and I'm like, did anybody see that plane hit? They were like, no. It's like nobody saw it. So I guess everybody got there. It had already happened, and it was just burning. And I'm like, man, I said it hit it kind of hard. I'm like, what size plane was it? I mean, it's like
Yeah.
nobody knew anything. So we put on, we got this all news station, 1010 Wins, and so we started listening to that. And had the trucks open, everybody had the radios going and stuff, and we're just sitting there watching. And then out the corner of my left eye, I could see a plane.
Oh God.
And I turned around and looked. Now, mind you, I said we were really close to it. So, I mean, we had like a perfect bird's eye view. And I'm looking at this plane, and I'm like, yo, that plane is flying really, really low.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it was like American Airlines. I think I could read everything on the plane, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, that plane is flying really low. And I just saw him go and head to the other building, and then I watched the plane turn like vertical
Yeah, yeah.
as opposed to flying horizontal. He went and turned that thing vertical and flew it right into the building. I was like, oh my God. And I'm
Wow.
like, the first one, I'm like, okay, that was an accident. The second one, I was like, no, it was
Yeah,
an attack.
yeah,
I said that
yeah,
was on purpose.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Exactly my thought process. Yep.
so at that point, I was like, I didn't even know what to do. I mean, actually, it's like my ex, who I was married to at the time, she had went to this. They had a shopping center underneath the World Trade Center that she used to go to all the time, and there was a store, a Casual Corner. She was going to take some clothes back, so.
Hmm.
We were talking in the morning, and I'm like, well, why don't you just go there after work and stuff? She's like, well, no, I want to try to stop there in the morning, so then I don't want to have to come back over there and stuff. So I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, whatever. So, I mean, at that point, I didn't know if she was still in there or not. So I was trying to call her, and the cell service was dead.
Yeah.
So I couldn't reach her. So I mean, at that point, I mean, there wasn't much else I could do. So we're just like standing there, just kind of watching, like in stunned silence. It's like we don't even know what to do. And then I guess maybe about 30, 35 minutes later, it's like the first building went down. And that's when we just kind of started freaking out, because I'm just like, man, there's people in that building. I mean, you just
kids
can't.
Right? So they had a daycare in there, right? So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was just, I was just numb. I was numb, because I'm like, and nobody really said anything. We just was standing there just watching this.
Just like, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and that first one went down, and I was like, oh my God, and stuff. At that point, I think that was about the point that I finally like freaked out. I was like, yo, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
So I went and got in my truck and drove back to the shop. And, I'm there with my boss and everybody, all the office workers, they're all in there, and they got the TV on. And my boss is like, he's like, I can't let you go home right now and stuff, because he's like, oh, you guys are essential personnel. So I need y'all to stay. And I'm like, well, stay here and do what? I'm like, what the hell?
Just in case they need some help.
Yeah, but we sat there in the break room and was watching it on TV, and then probably about, I don't know, maybe like another 45 minutes later, 50 minutes later, it's like the second tower went down. And, yeah, it was just the toughest thing to see, because I'm just like, how many people was in there? Because at any given time on a day when it's full, you got like 25,000 people working in those buildings.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, all of those people, oh my God, all of those people dead. And
because the way the towers started falling, you was in your mind, you just thinking like, oh, there's nobody that's gonna survive this.
Yeah, nobody. I'm like, it's impossible. It's impossible. And it was just, it was just really a surreal thing. And I mean, I guess the saving grace, if there is a silver lining and stuff out of that, the time of day that it happened, that was a blessing, really. Because if they did it like any later, like if they did it like after like 10 o'clock or something like that, you might have had full buildings at that point.
Wow.
And it could have been much worse.
Much
worse. But, it was horrible and horrific as it was. It could have really been a whole lot worse. They still be calling out names.
You're right.
So, yeah, it's, it was really a traumatic experience and a traumatic, tough day. It really was.
And being a born and raised New Yorker, I'm from the state of New York, but you are in the city. From being from New York City, how did that make you feel like this is your home? Because New Yorkers are very proud. We are proud people.
Yeah.
So how was it for you?
I felt violated.
Yeah. Number one,
I felt violated for real. And I really felt violated because, they tried it once before.
Yeah.
They, when they had the attack with the truck and stuff, and they drove it down in the basement.
The bomber, yeah.
And blew that up. Was that like 90? I can't remember. Was that like 91? I want to think of something like that.
Yeah, I have it in it. It was in 93.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But, they tried us once. And, we was like, okay, y'all got that one. It ain't gonna happen again. But nobody thought for 1 second that that's how they would do it.
Exactly. Us being in the United States, we already a cocky country, so it's just like, how did y'all let that happen to us? how did that happen to us?
Yeah, and I guess the thing of it is, it's like there was a book that I had read, and it just really came back to my mind immediately. It was called Debt of Honor, and it was written by Tom Clancy. And in that particular book, there was this Japanese pilot. He was in World War II, and he was really bitter about how, the war went down, and it was just like a bunch of other issues that he had. But one of the things that he did, he just kind of went rogue against the government, against the Japanese government, and he took a plane and he drove it into the Capitol building in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And wiped out everybody, killed everybody, and this is how the main character, Jack Ryan, became the president, because everybody else was dead. So it was just really just surreal, and it was really weird, because that's the first thing that came to my mind. And I'm like, you know what? I said, these people were probably reading these books too.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
that is so true.
This could probably work.
Yep.
For
those that don't know who Thomas Leo Clancy Jr., I just had to Google it myself.
Gotcha.
He was an American novelist. He is best known for his technically detailed espionage and military science storyline set during after the Cold War. So he has written several books, and a lot of these books turned into movies. The Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger. Now, these are all movies, guys, that we've watched without
I've
remorse.
read every book that he's ever written, all of them.
That is insane.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I know somebody was reading that. I know it. I know somebody read
that. Getting all the information.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Somebody got that idea right from there. I bet. I put my life on that.
Oh God. So
that wasn't no coincidence.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, they studied us. Studied it. And then to know that they came in and took flying lessons. Yes, in our own freaking backyard. That is crazy. So as Stacey was explaining his day in the attacks, and he was just going on by his merry way, I'm going to tell everybody like how the attacks started on that day. And so you can get a visual at least, or imagine how it was. And I mean, I can just imagine the fear of the passengers was in there. We watched the movie and we saw the people in Pennsylvania were calling their families and stuff and just letting them know, I'm getting ready to die. When I saw that one, that broke my heart. I believe it was a man. He was on the phone with his mom. He said, I'm getting ready to die, but I just wanted to tell you that I love you. And I'm like, who the fuck as a parent want to ever get that kind of call? Like, he already knew that he was not going to survive, but he just wanted to let them know that he loved them. So the attack.
It was, I'm sorry. That's it.
No, go on.
They were actually, playing some of those calls. That people made. You have people that made 911 calls. You have people that called their loved ones, people that had to leave like voice messages because they didn't get nobody.
Yes.
And it just tears your heart out your chest, man. It just does. Because you just ain't got a chance. And you listen to some of the victims, survivors that they left behind, and they would tell the stories about the calls and stuff that they got, from their loved ones on the planes, and it was just really hard to just listen to that. It was tough.
Absolutely. So on September 11th in 2001, groups of attackers boarded 4 domestic aircrafts at 3 East Coast airports, and soon after takeoff, they disabled the crews, some of whom may have been stabbed with box cutters. The hijackers were secreting. Now, right there, how did they get on the plane with box cutters, because TSA, well, I guess this was before TSA.
Back then, they
They
wasn't
wasn't
really
so strict.
stickling like that. Yeah, they
Okay.
wasn't like that.
Because
That
Lord,
way
now you
like
have a
now.
bobby pin. Your ass getting thrown to the ground if you got even just a bobby pin in your hair.
Yeah, the way they are now is a direct reflection of what happened on 9/11.
Yeah. The hijackers then took control of the aircraft, all large and bound for the West Coast with full loads of fuel. At 8:46 a.m., the first plane, American Airlines Flight 11, which had originated from Boston, was piloted into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. Most observers construed this initially to be an accident involving a small commuter plane. Like we said, like, oh, that plane flying really low, something must be wrong. And that the second plane, United Airlines Flight 175, also from Boston, struck the South Tower 17 minutes later. At this point, there was no doubt that the United States was under attack. Each structure was badly damaged by the impact and corrupted into flames. Office workers who were trapped above the points of impact in some cases leaped to their deaths rather than face the infernos now raging inside the towers. So just on top of like you hit the towers, now we got to fight the fires that you don't just cause because your plane blew up and whatever. I mean, we in a building working with electricity and, probably fuel and all that stuff. Now we got to fight this. And we felt at this point, there's no other recourse but to jump out of a window.
Yeah, and that was really tough. I don't know if you remember seeing that when they were showing that on TV. When them people were just I can't even imagine having to make that kind of choice.
Yes, I know. The third plane, American Airlines Flight 77, taken off from Dulles, which is in Washington, D.C. That's like the smallest airport I've ever been into. Struck the southwest side of the Pentagon, just outside of the city, at 9:37 a.m., touching off a fire in that section of the structure. Minutes later, the Federal Aviation Authority ordered a nationwide ground stop. And within the next hour at 10:03 a.m., the fourth aircraft, United Airlines Flight 93, from Newark, New Jersey, crashed near Shanksville in Pennsylvania countryside after its passengers, informed of events via cellular phone, attempted to overpower their assailants. At 9:59 a.m., the World Trade Center's heavily damaged South Tower collapsed, and the North Tower fell 29 minutes later. Oh, shit. I keep seeing it. I keep seeing that. Clouds of smoke and debris quickly filled the streets of Lower Manhattan. Office workers and residents ran in panic as they tried to outpace the billowing debris clouds. A number of other buildings adjacent to the Twin Towers suffered serious damage, and several fell. Fires at the World Trade Center also smoldered for more than 3 months. That's crazy. That's crazy. Rescue operations began almost immediately as the country and the world sought to come to grips with the enormity of the losses. Nearly 3,000 people had perished. Some 2,750 people in New York, 184 at the Pentagon, and 40 in Pennsylvania. All 19 terrorists also died. Included in the total in New York City were more than 400 police officers and firefighters who had lost their lives after rushing to the scene and into the towers. Oh, God, that just even talking about it, and I know, 21 years, it still hurts.
Yeah, and it's like, and it's like, I know from some of the stuff that I saw when I used to watch all of these documentaries that these people put together like every year, and I got to the point I had to stop watching. I was like, I just can't watch this stuff anymore. But I mean, you could look and see in the firemen's faces when they were going up, they knew they wasn't coming back down. They knew it.
Oh my God.
They knew it, but they went to go do their jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
They went to do their jobs, and they knew they weren't coming back.
And it was several, first liners, officers, fire department, EMTs and stuff. It was devastating to them. Even those that, survived and stuff, they was just so distraught of seeing like so many bodies dying, like people that they just could not save, like almost like at hand's grip, but then they just die because the towers are still falling and things are still falling on people.
Right.
That was crazy. So then, fast forward. Oh, go on, Stacey. You want to say something?
No, go ahead. No, sorry.
Okay. So fast forward. We are now in the hunt for bin Laden. In September 2001, President Bush announced that he wanted Osama bin Laden captured, dead or alive, and a $25 million bounty was eventually issued for the information leading to the killing or capture of bin Laden. Bin Laden evaded capture, however, including in December 2001 when he was tracked by U.S. forces to the mountains of Tora Bora in eastern Afghanistan. Bin Laden trail went cold, and he was thought to be living somewhere in the Afghanistan-Pakistan tribal regions. U.S. intelligence eventually located him in Pakistan, living in the garrison city of Abbottabad. And in the early morning hours of May 2nd, 2011, on orders from U.S. President Barack Obama, my president, a small team of U.S. Navy SEALs assaulted his compound and shot and killed the al-Qaeda leader. And we, many of us, we saw this on TV. Did they show him being killed? I just remember seeing the Situation Room where we had all the leaders in there and they were watching that live.
Right.
And their facial expression said it all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was...
Yeah, this is something you just forget or brush off. This is something that happened to all of us.
Right. And I guess one of the things, and I don't want to, just politicize it. I mean, I hate to do that, but I mean, you can't help it because, this country, we created bin Laden. We created him. And see, and it's just too many times that we go ahead and we get on the side of people to do one thing, and then it comes back and bite us in the ass. Because back when the Russians invaded Afghanistan, they the guerrillas they basically whooped the Russians' ass.
Yeah.
So the Russians basically showed us what not to do. But we were supporting bin Laden against the Russians. So we gave them weapons to fight the Russians. Ain't
that something?
So we created him.
Not knowing that his beef is with us too.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, we did that. Good job.
I'll tell you.
I say about that.
I'll tell you.
That's what happens when you go ahead and you lay down with the devil.
You said it. Absolutely. I tell you what, this is, just really like talking about it and just thinking about it. Those of us that watched the videos, the news reports and saw those planes be hit and go down, the towers go down the way they did, it's going to forever be etched in our memory banks. We're going to always remember this day. I definitely know I will.
Yeah, I can't forget. Can't forget if you want to.
Crazy. And I know some people who actually was there and who was like in the midst of it all and they survived and stuff. But, I'm sure like for years counseling was a big part of that person's life
Oh,
because of the
absolutely.
simple fact you see this. You walking by just to go to the barista to get a cup of coffee or something, and you standing there like, oh my God, you can feel all the rumblings and you can feel everything like crashing and hearing all this noise and not knowing what's going on. Just, just crazy.
Yeah, it
So,
took me 3 years before I would even go down there to the site.
yeah,
I was like, I
and
can't go
you
down
know, it's hard to see that.
there. Yeah,
I was going to
I
say,
couldn't go
like,
down. Every
for
time I would,
years, yeah.
yeah, I would get nervous. I would get anxiety. It's like when I think about going, I'm like, nah, I can't. I ain't ready. I'm just not ready. So,
Yes. And because for years we can see, you know, what made me proud to say I was from the state of New York was, you know, every year until they were able to put the museum and the monuments and all that stuff there and, you know, redo that whole area. It was beautiful to always see the two flash of lights, you know, the light that stood in
yep.
their place for many
Hmm.
years. And that was still letting people know the building may not be here, but we are, and we gonna keep, you know, keep this alive. Those people did not die in vain. So that was a lot. Now it makes me
Yeah.
want to go watch one of the 9/11 movies, so that just to see it. Well, do you have anything else, Stacy?
No, I think I'm. Yeah. This day is just really just kind of subdued for me, and that's kind of how I try to keep it today. It's just really a day for me just to really just think about things that are important, and when you complain about all of these everyday mundane things that's going on in life, this is really a time to just kind of sit back and remind you that there are things that are a whole lot bigger than you that are going on in this life. So you just need to stay humble and be honorable and cherish your loved ones, and just kind of strive to do the best that you can and stuff each and every day, because again, as it's been said ad nauseum, tomorrow just is not promised to any of us.
That is 100% true. Absolutely true. So again, everyone that this affected, please know that we are always going to bind together as a nation. And if not as a nation 100%, definitely as New Yorkers, because of the simple fact that we are strong, and Alicia Keys didn't lie. It's a concrete jungle. And
Mm-hmm.
we still do love the people in the Pentagon in Pennsylvania. And, hey, I'm hoping their loved
Yeah,
ones
New
on this day
Yorkers.
find peace and solace. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So
New
again, I'm
Yorkers
gonna
are a
put in
tough
the show
lot.
notes. Yeah, there we are. I'm gonna
Yeah.
put the information in the show notes, and one of the links is gonna have all the victims' name. Is the link straight to all the victims from 9/11, so you'll be able to, see the names, and let's all say a little prayer for them tonight before we go to bed, and that's that. If you don't have
Absolutely.
anything,
Thank you for doing this one, Tasha.
definitely. I felt like it was fitting. We needed this today because this is actually the 21st anniversary, and this was something that happened in our lifetime.
Yep, for sure.
Well, all right, people, we're going to sign off. Good night.
We back.
One World Trade Center and the National September 11 Memorial and Museum. The physical and symbolic void left by the destruction of the Twin Towers was filled on November the 3rd, 2014, with the opening of One World Trade Center, a 1,776-foot skyscraper, which instantly became a dramatic new landmark on the Manhattan skyline. Adjacent to One World Trade Center are the National September 11 Memorial and Museum, and those were completed in 2011 and 2014, respectively. Within the 8-acre Memorial Plaza, twin 1-acre reflecting pools occupy the footprints of the Twin Towers. The pools feature the largest man-made waterfalls in North America and are edged by bronze panels inscribed with the names of the victims of September 11 attacks, as well as the names of the 6 people who died as a result of the truck bombing of the World Trade Center in February of 1993. Among more than 400 trees in the grove that surrounds the pools is the Survivor Tree, a Calorie pear tree that was discovered badly damaged at Ground Zero, removed and nursed back to health, and then returned to the site in 2010. The memorial and plaza were designed by architects Michael Arad and Peter Walker, winners of a design competition that featured 5,201 submissions from 63 countries. That's awesome. The museum includes a glass-encased pavilion with an atrium that features 2 80-foot trident-shaped steel columns that were part of the Part of the North Tower, The museum's Memorial Hall is adorned with 2,983 tiles representing the victims of the September 2001 and February 1993 attacks. Each one a blue watercolor with which artist Spencer Finch attempted to capture the color of the sky on the day of September 11 attacks. At the center of the tiles is a quote from Virgil's Aeneid, I think that's his name. The museum's foundation hall is a high-ceilinged, nearly 15,000 square foot room that encompasses part of a surviving retaining wall of the World Trade Center and displays the last column, a 36-foot steel beam to which workers and other attached messages and postage during Ground Zero cleanup operations. The international impact of the September 11 attacks is demonstrated along the ramp that descends into the museum by a multimedia exhibit featuring recorded reminiscences by people from 43 countries and 28 languages. That is beautiful. I'm going to put in the show notes the references and the information that I was able to get when I was doing the background for 9/11, and it also has the list of the victims there and everything. It was so many, I just couldn't read them all off, but I think it's beautiful, and 9/11 will always be something that I will always remember. It was so heartbreaking when it first happened. I was in disbelief watching the planes go into the towers over and over again, trying to reach family and not able to reach family up there because I was living in Virginia at the time, and just the lines are being just shut down where you just can't get to your family and stuff. So it was scary, and it was just, again, I was in disbelief. So again, the references will have the link where all the victims' names will be attached in there, and then you can read them off and stuff. So I just want to say that send my love and prayers again to the families of the victims and people who did survive this, that was there and they survived it, and just to all of us as a whole that actually sat and watched this happen and just couldn't do anything about it because it was a horrible time. So we always end with a quote, and the quote is, "Tenderly may time heal your sorrow. Gently, may your friends ease your pain. Softly, may peace replace heartaches, and my warmest memories remain. And the author for that is unknown.